All right, so we're going to dive deep today into the world of speed and, Brazilian pride, I guess you could say.
For sure.
We're exploring Ayrton Senna. And, yeah, we're going deeper than just that new Netflix series.
Right.
We've got some excerpts from his biography that I think reveal a lot about the person behind the racing legend.
Yeah.
We've also got this really interesting article analyzing his impact on, Brazil and Brazilian society.
It's interesting, right? I mean, we celebrate all the victories
Yeah.
and the trophies and, all the battles on the track, but there's just so much more to his story.
Totally. And that's what we're going to try and uncover today.
Absolutely.
The man behind the helmet.
Yeah.
What were his motivations?
Right?
What were some of the things that he struggled with?
Uh-huh.
And why did he resonate so powerfully with not only Brazil, but the whole world?
Yeah. And I think one of the things that really just jumps out at you is how early his dedication to racing surfaced. I mean, just imagine this 4-year-old kid, not just driving a go-kart, but like analyzing his lap times.
Oh,
Like dissecting every section of the track.
it's crazy.
Like his mind was just wired completely differently right from the get-go.
Yeah, it's like a scene from a movie almost.
Yeah, it is.
This tiny kid already exhibiting all this meticulousness and stuff
Exactly.
that would later, go on to define his whole career.
Absolutely.
But he wasn't all seriousness and analysis.
Oh, no.
He had this competitive spirit that went way beyond the track, too.
Oh, yeah, you see this in like all the stories about his, daring driving.
Mhm.
Like that time he and his friend Alfredo were racing back from the beach.
Yeah.
I mean, pushing the limits of what anyone would consider safe driving.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if that constant need to, push boundaries was just, a part of him. know?
Right.
It's like it wasn't enough to just, be there. He had to, excel and test his limits,
Push the limits.
whether it was on the track or just on an open road.
Yeah, like he needed that challenge, like that adrenaline rush almost to
Yeah.
really feel alive.
Wow.
And that that pursuit of excellence becomes even more obvious as we follow his journey to Formula One.
Yeah, and he was so laser focused on Formula One that he even went against his parents' wishes.
Yeah.
I mean, they wanted him to join the family business, right?
Right.
But Formula One was it for him.
That was his calling.
It was his calling. Yeah.
His obsession.
Yeah, and it propelled him to the top.
It did.
But it definitely impacted his relationships.
Oh, for sure.
Especially the rivalries he had,
Yeah.
with his teammate Elio Dangelis.
Yeah.
I mean, they had such contrasting personalities and driving styles.
Wow.
It created this crazy tension on and off the track.
It's so interesting how these rivalries really expose the psychological side of racing at that level.
Right.
Because it wasn't just about speed and skill.
Right.
It was about mind games,
Yeah.
psychological warfare,
Wow.
the constant pressure to prove yourself.
And then when Senna finally made it to Formula One,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't just a personal victory.
No,
It was like a national event.
it was huge.
The Brazilian media went crazy,
Totally.
and the public just instantly took him in as one of their own.
Yeah, I think you have to remember what was happening in Brazil in the 80s.
Yeah.
It was a time of a lot of political and economic instability,
Yeah.
and people were just looking for something to believe in,
Hope.
hope.
Yeah.
And then Senna comes along, this talented young driver,
Yeah.
full of confidence, just
Yeah.
wearing his Brazilian pride for everyone to see.
Yeah. It's amazing how he became this symbol of hope and national pride
Wow.
at a time when Brazil really needed it.
Yeah, he showed the potential for greatness,
Yeah.
the possibility of achieving something incredible on the world stage.
Mm.
And it wasn't just about his driving either.
Right.
He spoke out against injustice,
Yeah.
He fought for social change,
Yeah.
and he wanted Brazilians to believe in themselves. He became more than just a sports star. He was a beacon of hope for a whole nation.
That's incredible.
It really is. And it wasn't just, limited to the racetrack.
Right.
His adventurous spirit, kind of like what fueled his racing, showed up in other parts of his life, too.
Are you talking about when he flew with the Brazilian Air Force?
Exactly.
That's crazy. I mean, who else is out there breaking the sound barrier and doing all these insane aerial maneuvers
Right.
and even blacking out from the G-force
It's wild.
just for the thrill of it?
Yeah, it's like he couldn't resist pushing those boundaries,
Yeah.
testing his limits physically and mentally.
Wow.
Didn't matter what it was.
It's incredible to think that beneath that super competitive exterior,
Yeah,
Senna had this real compassion for people,
he did.
especially the kids in Brazil.
Absolutely.
All the charity work he did and the Instituto Ayrton Senna
Yeah.
just shows how much he wanted to help those less fortunate.
Yeah, he understood that real success wasn't just about personal achievement,
Right.
but about using your platform to make a real difference.
Yeah, it's that mix of ambition and compassion
Yeah,
that makes him such a fascinating figure.
totally.
But let's get back to like the core of his career,
Okay.
the Formula One battles.
Yeah.
Like his rivalry with Alain Prost.
Oh, man.
That was legendary.
Clash of the Titans.
It really was a clash of titans.
Captivated the whole world.
For sure.
It was such an interesting dynamic, you know?
Yeah.
You had Prost, who was so calculated.
Right.
Almost clinical in his approach. And then you had Senna.
Yeah.
Pure instinct and raw emotion.
Wow.
Their battles on the track were intense,
Oh, yeah.
often pushing the limits of what was acceptable.
And then there was that infamous crash at the 1989 Japanese Grand Prix.
Oh, yeah.
The one that decided the championship.
Yeah, in Prost's favor.
Yeah. And it really sparked a lot of debate
For sure.
about racing ethics,
Yeah,
you know.
totally.
And it ignited this rivalry
Yeah.
that would go down in Formula One history. And their differences went beyond the track as well.
They did.
Prost often accused Senna of being way too aggressive,
Even reckless.
and Senna thought Prost was too political,
Yeah.
using his influence to his advantage.
It was a clash of personalities, for sure.
Totally.
Different philosophies.
But even with all the controversy and the fierce competition,
yeah.
there were moments of real sportsmanship.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like at the 1991 Brazilian Grand Prix,
Oh, yeah. What a race.
Senna was leading by a mile.
Family.
But then his gearbox gave out on the last lap.
Oh, man.
He managed to cross the finish line somehow.
It was unbelievable.
But it was like this agonizing victory.
Yeah.
He was totally spent.
Yeah, physically and emotionally drained.
He could barely even lift the trophy.
Yeah, and what does Prost do?
Oh, I know, right?
He puts the rivalry aside.
Yeah.
He's the first one to congratulate Senna,
What?
offering comfort and respect.
That's amazing.
It's a reminder that even in the heat of battle, true champions recognize each other's achievements.
Yeah, it shows the human side of the sport,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
But going back to Senna's relationship with Brazil,
Yeah.
it's amazing how intertwined his success became with the nation's identity.
He was more than just a driver.
For sure.
He was a cultural icon.
Yeah.
A symbol of Brazilian pride.
On the world stage.
Exactly.
His wins were like national celebrations for
Right.
bringing people together.
Yeah, it was a time when Brazil really needed that.
Yeah.
That sense of unity and optimism
And he showed that Brazilians could compete
at the highest level.
and win.
Yeah, and it wasn't just about winning races.
Right.
He was actively involved in social causes,
Yeah.
using his platform to tackle poverty and inequality.
Remember that iconic gesture?
Oh, yeah.
Drinking coconut water instead of champagne?
After winning the Brazilian Grand Prix,
Classic.
it wasn't just a quirky celebration, you know, it was
Right.
symbolic,
Yeah.
connecting him back to his roots, highlighting the importance of supporting local products and traditions.
It's those little things
Yeah,
that really cemented his bond with the Brazilian people.
absolutely.
He wasn't just this distant star.
No.
He was one of them.
He was fighting for them, for
Yeah.
their pride, their aspirations, their future.
And his legacy lives on through the Instituto Ayrton Senna.
Yeah.
His family set it up after his death. It carries on his vision.
Yeah, to empower kids through education,
It's amazing.
making sure future generations have the chance to reach their full potential.
It just shows how much he cared about Brazil.
Yeah, it shows that his passion went way beyond racing.
He understood that true greatness isn't just about what you achieve,
Right.
but about lifting others up, inspiring hope,
Yeah,
and making a real difference in the world.
absolutely.
But, you know, even with all the success and the fame,
Yeah.
all the outward strength he showed,
Mm.
there was this vulnerability to Senna. It's a sense of loneliness that sometimes came through.
You know, he often talked about the sacrifices he had to make for his career, the
Yeah.
constant pressure,
Yeah,
the isolation that came with being at the top.
it's tough.
And he wanted genuine connections, meaningful relationships,
Right.
but his dedication to racing
Yeah.
made it hard to keep those bonds.
There's that story about him talking to his friend Galvan Bueno.
Yeah.
And he said, I have everything I could ever want. You know, money, fame, victories.
Wow.
But sometimes I just feel incredibly alone.
That's heartbreaking.
It really is.
It just shows that even those who seem to have it all,
Yeah.
they struggle too.
They're human.
Yeah. It's a reminder that success and fame don't protect you from needing to connect with people,
Right.
feeling like you belong.
And even with all that going on, Senna's impact went way beyond racing.
Absolutely.
I mean, he became a global icon,
He did.
an inspiration to so many people.
Yeah, and his legacy is still strong today.
Decades after his death.
It's crazy how his story, it's not just about racing, you know?
Right.
It's about pushing your limits,
Yeah.
going after what you want in life.
And that human resilience you were talking about.
Exactly.
And just being real.
Yeah.
Being authentic.
Senna wasn't afraid to show what he was feeling.
Right.
His passion, even when he was vulnerable.
He wasn't trying to be perfect all the time.
Yeah, in a world where everyone's trying to act tough and hide their flaws.
Exactly.
He was just himself.
And I think that's why so many people connect with him.
Yeah.
Even if they don't care about racing.
Yeah. He showed us that even the best of us are still human.
We've all got our struggles or our baggage.
And his story encourages us to, embrace our imperfections.
Yeah.
Find meaning in more than just our achievements.
And connect with each other on a human level.
Exactly.
So when we look back at Ayrton Senna's life,
Yeah.
what we see is this guy full of contradiction,
Right.
driven by ambition, but also so compassionate. A global icon who never forgot where he came from.
And a symbol of hope who is fighting his own battles.
And his journey from that little kid in a go-kart
Yeah.
to becoming this global icon,
It shows the power of the human spirit.
it really does.
It reminds us that even when things are tough,
Yeah.
we can push ourselves further
Chase those dreams.
and make a real difference.
So it all comes down to this.
What will your legacy be?
What kind of mark are you going to leave on the world?
Something to think about.
For sure.
Something to inspire us.
To live with passion and purpose.
And to really want to make things better.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Ayrton Senna.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Keep asking questions.
And keep diving deep.